He said, pray as you see me pray. Utter these words that you hear me say. Based on the Sunnah, worship Him, just follow Him.
Assalamu alaikum. New class coming to you every Monday and Wednesday, taught by Fitan Nashiba, the fifth of prayer. Every Monday and Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Inshallah, we'll see you there. Streaming on all major platforms, channel Sunnahfollowers.
And by the way, what do you get upstairs tonight?
Ask Sister Layla live. Sister Layla live. Weekly for the shower at the hour. Ask Sister Layla live. Sister Layla, invite your friends and family, make it cozy. Ask Sister Layla. His names, we need to know about them, how to apply them, ponder the meanings behind them.
New class alert! Sunnahfollowers presents the names of Allah. Please join us every Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard with Sister Samar. Streaming on all major platforms, right here, channel Sunnahfollowers. Hey, I got a couple questions for y'all. The first one, who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is your prophet? Now, I know this sounds crazy, but if you're one of those people that have been trying to get information and you come across this, or even this, all right, take a listen.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Sister Layla Nashiba, the Managing Director and Founder of Sunnahfollowers Online Islamic University. As you know, we have classes every day beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we cover everything from Aqidah, which is your belief system, to Seerah, which are the stories of the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the story of the companions. Please join us every day beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are broadcasting and streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, DLive, Trovo, and Twitch. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
You will make it through. The fitnah is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, is a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The fitnah is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through.
My name is Sully, better known as Pius. I can help with surahs, so I can recite.
My name is Suhaila, memorizing surahs, reading the Quran, and practicing the Sunnah.
My name is Mommy, better known as Umi. Islamic education is key to the family. We tune in every day to learn something new, and Sunnahfollowers is helping us, and it could help you too. Tune in every day for new programming. Stay tuned.
And much more.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Listen, we are in dire need of donations to keep these shows running and available for you 24/7. So that means when you're in the car, it's available for you to listen to. Whether you're at work, streaming, playing a game, it's available for you to listen to. Rowing your deed and learning about the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful different topics of Islam. Listen, one of the heaviest deeds that could be placed on your scale on the day of judgment is Sadaqah Jariyah. Yes, I know, I'm trying to build deeds daily. So you can too. So listen, feel free and please, from the bottom of your heart, donate to this wonderful cause, wonderful website and platform to continually push out shows that will benefit you and the Muslim Ummah. Yes, you can donate by going to the Sunnahfollowers.net website, pressing the donate tab. You can also scan the QR code in YouTube on the far left top of our videos that are streaming. Listen, guys, this is very important, and take this as important. We want to keep this programming available for you 24/7 so that you have access in your car, anywhere you choose to tune in to this wonderful programming. Yes, guys, it's all at your disposal. So listen, feel free to donate. Once again, remember, Sadaqah Jariyah, one of the heaviest deeds on your scale on the day of judgment.
The Muqasid Tafsir.
Where should I begin when I'm starting at the end? Pursuing the higher aim, learning the meaning of every page. Where should I begin when I'm starting at the end?
Assalamu alaikum. Sunnahfollowers presents a new class, the Muqasid of Tafsir, being taught and brought to you by Ustada Layla Nashiba. Please stay tuned, streaming on all major platforms, right here on channel Sunnahfollowers.
Okay. Alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam ala wa rasulullah. I want to welcome everybody here. Dr. Ali will be here joining shortly. He's a real doctor. He had an emergency call. So he'll be coming in a few minutes, guys. He's meeting with one of his patients at his clinic. So I'm just going to, keep you here until he comes in. He'll be joining in shortly. This topic he's going to give is a good topic as to how to handle yourselves in times of fitan. So you don't want to miss this lecture he's getting ready to give. So just stick around. And also, let me remind everybody, we're always in need of donations. Please, guys, we need to support this website. Subhanallah, we are a nonprofit organization. We're not affiliated with a masjid, as you guys know. And we do everything ourselves here. So please try to support us. This is the beginning of the month. We need donations. You can donate using PayPal. You can donate using Cash App. We prefer Zelle, because Zelle doesn't take any money out of the when you transfer funds. So please donate to support us, guys. We're desperately in need of those donations. Okay. And also, I just want to make a couple of statements here too, because every day is some Fitan here on this internet. Running a website is not easy thing to do. I've been doing it since 1986. And you would think after it would get easier each year, but it gets harder and harder. And I just want to remind everybody that this is a real website. And the people here, we've been teaching Islam all of our lives. All of the people here, we have devoted our lives to the dawah. And we've been teaching Islam since we were children, most of us here. Okay, so it's not a joke. It's not a game. It's not fun. I mean, I had to ban a woman from out of my WhatsApp group today because she kind of ticked me off, because first she complained about how none of the classes seems to accommodate her. When I got Muslims here from all over the world, I got Muslims here from South Africa. I got Muslims from every part of Africa. I got Muslims here from Saudi Arabia, Muslims here logging in from the Emirates, from Jordan, from Israel. I got people logging in from Israel, so subhanallah. But, I know that people are ignorant. So, and being the diet that I am, I want to accommodate even the ignorant. So I, requested her. I said, I tell you what, since you can't make it, because if it's important enough, I know I've been doing this long enough to know that if it's important, if a person really wants to learn, they will make the time. I know that. So, but to accommodate this person, I said, since you can't, the time seemed to be off for you, you set the time, and I will do a Q&A just for you, but bring me 10 people, and all 10 of them have at least one question. So my time ain't wasted, because my time is busy. I'm either teaching, or I'm doing videos, or I'm dealing with the brothers and their programs, trying to get their stuff together. I working around the clock on this website. I don't even sleep like a normal person sleep. I don't even eat like a normal person eats. So my time is valuable. So bring me 10 people, and each one with a question, and I'll do a time specific for you. That's what I had told her. Okay, she comes back today, well, you can download the world time changes and look at the times in Africa and look at the times in Europe and GMT this. I don't know what this GMT crap was. And this is an administrative thing that's your job as an administrator to find a time to accommodate people. I said, wait a minute. I don't know where you are, what you are. I'm trying to help you. My students come. My students come from United Kingdom. They're in here right now. They Brother Malik, because she mentioned Brother Malik. I said, Brother Malik is in Sweden. He comes to all my classes. Like he told her, I work. His working is around my classes. I'm accommodating you. You the one that had a problem coming. And now you're going to turn into like me, like I got a problem? She said, no, it's that you were complaining about how your students embarrass you by not showing up. I said, I never said that. I said, my students embarrass me by not getting on the microphone answering questions. I said, my Zoom room is always packed with at least 30 to 40 people. I said, I was admonishing my students for not being on the mic to answer questions like they always do. I'm always fussing at you guys about not answering questions. I told her, so I'm trying to accommodate you. You claim you had a problem coming to the class. I said, but it seems to me like you just a complainer. I said, because I don't know you. You ain't one of my students. Seem like you want the brothers to accommodate you. The brothers ain't got time for you because all the brothers got wives, number 1, 2, 3, 4. Number two, the brothers' wives ain't going to have them accommodate you. So, seemed to me like she wanted some personal accommodation from the brothers here. I don't know. But anyway, I just banned her. Like I said, I told her because she's made the comment, you know, if a teacher really cares about their students, I said, honey, I care about my students so much that I don't have time for fitnah. I can't deal with fitnah. So I banned her out of the group. You know, so I'm just letting you guys know, you know, this ain't no game. I'm not new at this dawah scene. I keep telling you guys, I know I look young. I look like I'm your age, but I'm your grandmother's age. I'm your great-grandmother's age. So don't come here playing games with Layla Nashiba, because Layla ain't got the time. And one thing about a female daya, where men will sit there and be patient with that silly stuff, I don't have it. I'll just go off on you. I mean, that's how women are. We're emotional. I'm not going to sit there and listen to you play your pity pat game with me. I'm going to tail you off, bust you in your face, and keep it moving. That's just how women are. We're more emotional and violent than men are. So I'm just letting you sisters know, you little young girls out there, I keep telling y'all I'm not no little kid. I'm a grown woman, old enough to be your grandmother. And if you don't play with me, because women ain't like men. The female daya, we're not like the males. We don't have all that patience with a woman. We just knock you out, cuss you out. They usually cuss you out and then knock you out. Well, I'm going to try not to use profanity. But that's something I struggle with. I ain't going to curse you out, but I'm going to tail you off and I'm going to bust you out if I can. Kick you out. Keep it moving. Life is short. I'm too old. I got anxiety. I don't have patience to deal with airbrain women that's looking for a man. And I ain't into the LGBTQ community either. That ain't happening. Yeah, I think she's upset because Dr. Dramali wouldn't accommodate her. Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah, but anyway, guys, so our dawah here is serious. It's real. We're all about the deen, you know, trying to help each other to get on our journey towards paradise, trying to help keep each other strong upon Sirat al-Mustaqim. We don't have time for the games, the drama, the stress, none of that. I don't even get much sleep, so ban the kid. Yeah. All right. So, Dr. Ali should be joining any minute. Like I said, he's with a patient. Walaikum salam, Brother Shaheed. Alhamdulillah. How's your family doing? How's the wife? How's the kids? Alhamdulillah. And I see I got my people here from the Emirates. Oh, yes. MashaAllah. Yes, Dr. Ali. Yeah, he's going to be speaking about how to handle yourself in times of fitan. Yeah, you guys are going to like him. Yeah, he's Egyptian. Yeah, too. He's Egyptian too, but unlike me, he speaks Arabic. So I don't speak Arabic, but he does. So you really will enjoy him. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, subhanallah. Yes, we do have my Q&A. What is this? The Brother Omar? Yeah, my Q&A is on Friday. It's every Friday, inshallah, Brother Omar. Every Friday from 9:30, starting at 9:30. And also don't forget this Friday, that reminds me, I'm glad he mentioned that. Oh, we have Brother Youssef again with part 2. Oh, yes. Brother Youssef with part 2 of what happened to Palestine, how Palestine was taken away by the Zionists. Yeah, he's going to do part 2 of that, the history of Palestine. That's going to be this Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Exactly, inshallah. Yeah, Dr. Dramali will be with him too, inshallah. And that's what I find amazing. You know, we can complain. A lot of people complain like that sister. She didn't have, oh, the times are not good for me. You awake now? It's awful strange. The time was good enough for her to banter back and forth with me. She could be right in here learning. She could be right there on Zoom, getting ready to learn the class. It's time for class. I see you awake. You ain't sleep. It's 11 o'clock in the United Kingdom. That ain't late. Subhanallah. I got a lot of people here from the UK. They say it's the best time. Really? One of the brothers say, Dad, this is the best time for a class. It's 11 o'clock. Subhanallah. That's how people are. All that mouth. They got complaints, but ain't got nothing. You tell them to put the money where the mouth is, they can't produce. She couldn't give me a time or 10 people. But got all this complaint. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking to see who's coming in. Uh-huh. Yes, we're doing the prayer tonight. Yeah, my class on the prayer. Oh, really? Yeah, make sure you guys pass that around too. Tonight, I'll be doing this the how to pray from A to Z. Tonight, we're going to speak about the times of the prayer. I'm going to go into detail about the times of the prayer. Okay, so that's going to be tonight at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. The times of the prayer. Yes, share it. Please do. Yeah, share those ads on your social platforms because most Muslims don't know how to pray correctly, as we know. And that's why I'm doing this whole series to walk you through the correct way to pray, the way the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us, not the fiqh. I'm not teaching you the fiqh of Imam Malik or any of that. I'm teaching you how to pray as the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us how to pray. And if there's something that's questionable, like Bismillah, whether we say Bismillah out loud, I'm going to tell you what the companions understood the answer to be, not anyone else. Yeah. Yeah, so that's tonight at 9:30, inshallah. Yeah. My sister say you look tired. I am. I'm just tired. I mean, I slept, but I'm just, a little tired. Dealing with the drama of this website is stressful. Y'all just don't know. I mean, it's so stressful. Hoping that we get donations. Because this is the first of the month, we only got what, $300, I think, in our account right now, because one of the bills came through. Subhanallah, may Allah bless Sister AA. Sister AA started us off this month, but her donations is gone. So please, guys, donate. And look at the blessings you'll get, the rewards you'll get. Whatever reward Allah gives us teachers, you guys will get it too. This is considered ongoing charity too. Ongoing charity. Yeah. Uh-huh. Excuse me. Yeah. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. The brother here is asking me about that again, too. He's asking me about when I talked about how Allah does not accept your good deeds if you're deliberately, intentionally indulging in bad deeds. Yes, there's many hadiths on that. Yeah, and a lot of Muslims don't understand that. We have to be careful. And when we're talking about intentional sins, like even Ramadan, even with that, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, what's the reward of fasting the month of Ramadan? Forgiveness of all your sins. as long as you're not indulging in a major sin. And what's a major sin? Ibn Abbas explained that. A major sin, Ibn Abbas explained that is to deliberately, intentionally disobey Allah. If you're deliberately, intentionally disobeying Allah, Allah doesn't accept your fast. If you're deliberately, intentionally disobeying Allah, Allah doesn't accept your prayers. If you're deliberately, intentionally disobeying Allah, Allah doesn't accept any of the deeds that you're doing. Does everybody understand that? That's clear. That is clear. That's why you sisters have to wear hijab. What makes you think that you don't have to wear hijab and Allah is going to accept your prayers? Allah is not accepting your prayers. Allah is not accepting any of your good deeds because you're deliberately, intentionally disobeying Him. This is a basic of Islam. Yeah, so you sisters have to wear hijab. Exactly. The brother here is saying that he told his sister that your sister won't cover up. He said his sister won't wear hijab, and he's trying to tell her that Allah doesn't accept her good deeds, but she told him she don't care. See, that's another problem. That's why Allah is punishing us as a nation, because we think we can pick and choose what parts of this religion to accept, to reject, etc. Is Dr. Ali in there? He's still not in there yet, guys?
Not yet.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Exactly. The brother is saying here, like, people smoke marijuana. People smoke marijuana and still make salat. Do you honestly think Allah is accepting your prayers when you're smoking weed? Do you honestly think Allah is accepting your prayers or your fast or your charity when you're deliberately doing drugs? Yeah, same thing. Yeah, stick around, guys. We're waiting on Dr. Ali. He's dealing with a patient. Told y'all he's a real doctor. Yeah, but he's getting ready to come in. Don't worry. He said he will be coming in. Just let him deal with this patient. Yeah. And that's why I was telling you that personal look, you looking for somebody to one-on-one you here at Sunnahfollowers, it don't happen because all the brothers here, they're real doctors and imams. Either they're imam or they're a real doctor. So they accommodate us based on their schedule. Subhanallah. You're looking for somebody to cater to you, it ain't happening. Not at Sunnahfollowers. The road to paradise is hard, not easy. You got to work for it. Ain't nobody going to hand you anything here at Sunnahfollowers. If you really want to learn the deen, we got the knowledge. We have the knowledge. We have the information, and we can explain it to you. But you're going to have to want it and work for it. It ain't going to be handed to you on no lily platter because you live in a certain part of the world. It don't happen that way. And just so you guys know, America has different time zones too. Even the other students in my website, they're joining from all different time zones. The West Coast, East Coast, South, North. We're in different time zones here. Central. Even Dr. Ali, he's 3 hours behind me. But see how he's accommodating you guys? I mean, we're all in different time zones too. So anybody that think that the world's supposed to hand them the knowledge of Islam on a platter, something wrong with you. You better work for it. Nothing good comes easy. You have to work for it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm going to cover all of that. Okay, the brothers asking me, am I going to cover the positions of the prayer? Yes, all of that. That whole series, I'm going to take you through all the positions too. Okay, here's Dr. Ali. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Hold on, guys. Let me go back to Zoom. I saw his name. There he is. Okay. And Dr. Ali, when you're ready to turn your camera on and stuff, let me know so I can turn mine off. I was keep talking to the people until you came.
I have a video for you guys, or not a video, sorry, a presentation. So
good. Okay, good. I'm just setting everything up here.
I know it's sometimes nicer to be able to see
yes
things and stuff.
Wait a minute, guys. And you guys can hear, right? Yeah, I'm gonna wait and see what it looks like. Y'all see a black screen now, but don't worry, that black screen will go away when he turns his camera on. Yeah. Okay, good.
Are you able to give me sharing?
Oh, you want to screen share too? Yeah. Oh, I made you a co-host. Yes. Can you do it?
Sure. I think I can.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, there, I see it. I gotcha. There's screen. There we go. That should be clear, right?
Oh, yes. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to fix my sound so it's stereo. Guys, I won't be talking. I'm going stereo so y'all can get the best sound from him. Okay. And Dr. Ali, you can start whenever you're ready.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's so always a pleasure for me to join you guys. Allah only knows how much I enjoy my time with you guys. Alhamdulillah. All right. And so, as before, if you guys have any concerns or anything like that, please don't hesitate to chat. I'll keep my chat, kind of keep monitoring it from time to time so that we can, I can see you, inshallah. There we go. So this topic, just to give you guys an idea, the reason I wanted to do it is because not only for a lot of new Muslims, but there's a lot of Muslims, even who have been Muslim for some time, that they have, some concerns about this issue, and they don't know what to do. And we are living in an era of fitnah. We're living in an era of trials and tribulations and confusion more than anything else. And so this is why this topic is extremely important. And it has always been important to the believer, because when you consider Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, when he put together his Sahih, so he had a great deal of wisdom in the topics that he chose. And so the way that he organized his book was by topic, by, essentially by question that people may have. And so he has an entire book devoted, to the trials. So Kitab al-Fitan. And so you see when you read through Kitab al-Fitan and Sahih al-Bukhari, you get the impression of how the Prophet ﷺ was worried about the Ummah, and he wanted to protect them from, having difficulties and undergoing challenges in their life and losing their faith. And so this is why this topic is so important, inshallah. As always, if you have questions, please do not hesitate to write your question. As long as it's on the topic, I will stop and we can go through it. If it's not on the topic, we'll just keep it for the end. So one of the things that I always teach students, I always tell them that when you are learning any topic, it's very, very important that you be sure that the teacher of that topic starts off by definitions. One of the ways that the people of bid'ah, people of innovation, and the people, who go astray, that they get other people to go astray, is that they use alternative definitions, or they use different definitions. And so as a result, if you don't know what you're talking about, then you will be in trouble, and you will be more confused, and you'll have more likelihood to go astray. And so that's why it's very, very important that when you're studying anything in Islam, because it is coming in the Arabic language, that you understand exactly what the word means, any study that you're doing. So when we're studying wudu, you want to understand, how did the Arabs understand this word before Islam? How did they understand it after Islam? How did the companions of the Prophet ﷺ use this word? How is this word used in the Quran? How is it used in the Hadith? And so forth. You have to have this kind of really in-depth understanding of the word so that you can be sure that you're implementing it in the proper way, right? Make sense? I hope that is clear, inshallah. So when we look at the word fitnah, okay, the Arabic word fitnah, okay, what does that word mean? So we hear this word quite a bit. So the word fitna includes meanings of testing and trial. When we look at how this word is used in the Arabic language, okay, we can take a phrase from the Arabic language which says, "Fatantu al-fidda wal-dhahab." Okay, I tested the quality of the silver and the gold, meaning I melted the metals to separate the impure from the pure. So the idea here is that the basis of fitna in the Arabic language is to increase the heat until the impurity melts off. So metals have different melting points. Okay, so gold has a melting point which is different than iron or steel or copper or nickel or anything else. So they all have different melting points. So what happens is when you want pure gold, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to keep on turning up the heat until certain impurities melt off, and then at the end, all you have left is gold or silver. So this is how the Arabs used to use that terminology prior to the coming of Islam. Now, when we look in the Quran, we see a very similar understanding, okay, as Allah has mentioned in Surah Al-Dhariyat, Surah number 51, Ayah 13, where He says, يَوْمَ هُمْ عَلَى النَّارِ يُفْتَنُونَ. Okay, so the translation, the meaning, on that day, it will be a day when they will be tried, or they will be burned over the fire, okay? So, but in this case, we understand trial. Why would somebody be tried in the hellfire? What is the purpose of using this? Because now we want to understand this exact usage in the Quran. Why would Allah burn certain people in the hellfire as a means of trial? Who can answer that? Anybody? I hope you guys are listening.
that they knew something about Islam, but they didn't follow through. So is that what it
It
means?
could be. So that's not bad. So what's your name?
Jamila.
Jamila, thank you, Jamila. Very good answer. So, in order to understand this, okay, and this is a very critical point for people to understand, especially as new Muslims, we want to understand the condition of the people on the Day of Judgment. Okay, what is the condition of the people on the day? There is going to be three groups of people, inshallah, on the Day of Judgment. Three groups, only three. There's going to be the people that will enter the hellfire and they will not leave it. They enter the hellfire and they will never leave the hellfire. There's another group that will enter Jannah and they will never have gone through the hellfire. And we ask Allah to be from the second group, and we ask Allah's protection from being among the first group. Ameen. There is a third group, though, that they are believers, but they did certain things that will earn them a period of time in the hellfire. They will go into the hellfire for some time. So when they go into the hellfire, what are they going into the hellfire for? Why would Allah put a believer into the hellfire? What's the objective of putting them in the hellfire?
But they died upon sin, so this is a way that they can, kind of like repent. Allah is giving them an opportunity to say, look, I love you, but hey, you got to do some time because you didn't follow my laws, you didn't follow my rules as I ordered you to.
Very good. Very good. But so the concept then is that they're going in there and the fire is doing what? It's burning off what? Burning off the impurity. They are gold. Okay, they're golden because they're believers, but they have impurity on them. And that impurity cannot go into Jannah. So that impurity has to be melted off. And so they have to be burned in the hellfire. So what is the impurity we're talking about then? There are two categories of impurity. What are they? Who knows?
The impurity would more than likely, at least the one I'm thinking of, would be the sins that they've committed in the dunya.
Okay, so what kind of sins? Just any kind of sins or a special type of sins?
I would imagine the sins that they perhaps did not repent for,
okay,
and they died upon.
That's reasonable. And so generally these types of sins that harm somebody are going to be major sins, right?
Correct.
So meaning that we're not talking about minor sins, we're talking about major sins. And so the agreement that we have made, okay, you have entered as a Muslim, you have entered into a contract with Allah. And that contract is that you will obey him, okay? And that obedience entails two things: that you will do what you were commanded to do from the obligations, and you will obey him in leaving off or avoiding that which you are forbidden from doing, which is the major sins. Make sense? So we have to do the obligations and we cannot do the minor sins. That's the principle here. So if a Muslim does one or both of those things, then they will have a hard time to enter Jannah, right away. So that's the goal then for us, is that if we want to be among the group of people that enters Jannah without going through the hellfire, that means what? That means that we have to avoid major sins and we have to make sure that we complete our obligations. And the most important obligation of all after Tawheed is what?
The salats.
Very good. And so the salah is the most important thing because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, on the Day of Judgment, the first thing that the believer will be judged for is their prayer. And if their prayer is in order, then the remainder of their deeds will be in order. The prayer itself has a very, very protective effect on the believer. Okay, and that's something very important to remember, is that when Allah Azza wa Jal, he talks about Bani Israel, and he says, um, فأضاعوا الصلاة واتبعوا الشهوات, that they abandoned prayer, and in the exact same breath, he says, and they followed temptation. Your prayer is your shield. It is your armor. Okay, so you can imagine that you are a knight, or if you want to be more modern, you say you're Iron Man or something like that. That's you taking off your armor. Okay, now you become susceptible to everything. You are going to be susceptible to all the temptations. You don't have any protection anymore. And so the likelihood of you succumbing to all sorts of temptation is very high when you abandon the prayer. The prayer is a great great deal of protection for the believer. Okay. And so that is why the people generally who pray, have you ever seen somebody who makes their 5 daily prayers on time and they don't fast Ramadan? Do you ever see somebody who prays 5 times a day and they don't pay their zakah, or that they refuse to go to Hajj? It doesn't happen, right? Because the prayer is the basis, it's the foundation. So when a person is praying, they're going to do all the other things. They're more likely to do every aspect of the belief. That's how important the prayer is. But that's the general concept here. Okay, so I hope that I've made it clear that the concept of fitnah is to increase the heat, to burn off impurity, and to purify something. Certain people will be purified on in the hellfire on the day of judgment, okay, because of their major sins, or because of their lack of observing obligatory deeds. Okay, so when we look into it Islamically, Ibn al-Arabi, rahimahullah, he said that fitna has different meaning depending on the context. Okay, when we look into the Islamic texts, it can mean testing, it can mean trial, it can mean wealth, it can mean children, it can mean disbelief, it can mean differences of opinion among the people, and it can mean burning with fire. Any questions on this before I move forward? All right, so we'll take that as a no. So now that we understand what the word means, okay, now let us look at the Quran. What is the Quran telling us, or how is the Quran using this word? Okay, so Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us one of the most critical ayat in the entire Quran from Surah Al-Ankabut, Surah 29, ayah number 2. أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. Do people think once they say, I believe, that they will be left alone without being tried? And so many of you understand this very, very well as new Muslims. When I talk to people who accept Islam after all the hugging and, patting on the back and congratulations and welcome and all that stuff, I tell them, okay, now that we've celebrated, okay, let's be real. You're about to be tested, okay? You are about to undergo a pretty big test. So here's my phone number. When you're going through that fire, don't hesitate to call me. So why is that? Why should a person who accepts Islam expect to be tested?
Allah tells us that in Surah Al-Ankabut, that just because we claim to believe, do we think that we would not be tested? But we will be tested.
So, but why? I want to understand why, because sometimes people will ask you, well, how come? What's the logic behind it, or what's the wisdom behind it? Is this a wisdom that we can understand?
Well, we have to earn our way back to paradise. We have to earn it.
Yes, very good. And then, yes, go ahead.
Yes, Allah tests us to see, who truly believes in Him. Just like the brother said, saying you believe is not enough. He's going to test us until we choose Him and Him alone.
Very good. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Beautiful answer. Thank you so much. So
it also serves as a way of refining us.
Yes, very good.
Bettering us for paradise.
Excellent. The idea is that not everybody comes to Islam for the right reasons, right? So somebody might become Muslim because they wanted to get married to a Muslim. And somebody might become Muslim because they wanted a job. And somebody might become a Muslim because all their friends are Muslim and they don't want to feel left out. And there's all kinds of different things. Some people are going through, they might think it's, for a phase or something along those lines. And so how are we going to know that these people actually are for real? The way you know for real is when they go through the tests. So what happens is, what you guys have probably already experienced, that a lot of times your family will disown you, your friends will abandon you and say, okay, you're a terrorist now, I can't be friends with a terrorist, and your parents are saying the same thing. I can't believe my son or daughter has become a terrorist, and all these different things because of the the lies that they're being told on a regular basis. And so some people can't handle that. Some people say, okay, I didn't know it was going to be like this. I didn't know it was going to be this hard. And I can't deal with this. I can't deal with all these people abandoning me. So I'm just not gonna. I can't do this. I gotta give up. And so that's how they go about it, unfortunately. So we don't. The principle is that if this is really the decision, you recognize that you are buying your way into Jannah. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Sil'atullahi ghaliya, sil'atullahi al-Jannah." The merchandise of Allah is very expensive. The merchandise of Allah is paradise. And so the thing that when you look at certain people, so people maybe some people watching the Olympics or something, try to be relevant. So with the Olympics, a lot of these athletes are, giving up enormous amounts of time. They're making tremendous sacrifices in their young years, where they're not eating what they want to eat. They're very disciplined in how they eat. They're disciplined in when they go to sleep. They're disciplined when they wake up. So they go to bed early and they wake up early so that they can get in their workouts and do all the things that they have to do. So they're not living the typical life that many of their young friends are living, in terms of running around and being wild and doing all that stuff. Okay. So why are they doing that? They're doing that because they hope for, some type of fame and a gold medal, okay, or some type of medal. So what are you getting? You have to look at it that I am struggling and I'm striving for something that is way beyond all of that. These people are running around trying to get 15 minutes of fame and get a medal that they can hang on their, on their mantle and say, back in the day, I used to be something, okay? But what we are going for is we're going for the ultimate success, which is the success on the day of judgment. That is the real success. That is the day in which people will look around them and they say, "Ya laytani qaddamtu li hayati." How much I wish that I had sent something forward for my life. How desperately I wish that I had done something with my life so that I would not be a failure today. This is the deal. So that's the thing we have to understand. And when a person understands, that's what I'm going for. So if everybody leaves me, if nobody wants to be my friend, if nobody wants to associate with me, if I have to face whatever I have to face, if I lose my job, it doesn't matter, because I'm not giving up, because I know the truth and I'm never going to go back. And that's the mentality that has to be there. And that's the mentality that you see that the companions of the Prophet ﷺ had, that they made enormous sacrifices in order to maintain their faith and to stick to their faith. And so that's the idea. Secondly, Allah mentions in Surah An-Nahl, Surah number 16, ثم إن ربك للذين هاجروا من بعد ما فتنوا ثم جاهدوا وصبروا إن ربك من بعدها لغفور رحيم. Then indeed your Lord, to those who immigrated after they had been compelled to say words of disbelief. That's the fitnah. The fitnah for these people was they were living in a place in which they were the minority, and the majority said to them, if you don't say that that you believe in X, Y, and Z, we're going to kill you and we're going to torture you really badly before we kill you. So they said those words of disbelief in order just to avert the punishment from themselves and their families. Okay, but then they emigrated. They left that place, okay, to go and be with the believers, and thereafter they fought for the cause of Allah and they were patient. So Allah is for such people forgiving and merciful. Allah will not hold them to account for words that they were compelled to say. words that they were forced to say in order to save themselves, because he knows what's in their heart. And so here we see fitnah in the terms of being compelled to say words of disbelief, or the concept of disbelief altogether. We also see in Surah Al-Anfal Allah's statement, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ إِلَّا تَفْعَلُوهُ تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. And those who disbelieve are allies of one another. Don't ever forget that. A lot of times we forget this. We tend to think that, a certain disbelieving person or group or whatnot, they're nice to me, and they treat me well. We tend to forget that they are, at the end of the day, allies to one another. So when we look at the international stage, we see how they work together against Muslims, irrespective of however the Muslims behaved. The Muslims could have behaved politely, generously, graciously with them. It doesn't matter. Okay? At the end of the day, this is the nature of things. But the problem is that the disbelievers are willing to ally with one another, but sometimes the Muslims are not. They're not willing to work together. So Allah says, if you don't do so, meaning if you don't ally yourselves with other believers, if you're not going to work together, if you're not going to team up and put the silly differences between us aside and work to the greater good, then there will be fitnah. What is that fitnah? Disbelief and oppression on earth and great corruption. There will be fitnah on earth and great corruption. And that's what we see today. We see that the Muslims, as the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the well-known hadith, he said that there will come a time when you will be many. Okay, so the whole hadith, just for completion, he said, and how will you be in the time when the nations will call one another to feast upon you, okay, as a group feasts upon a meal, okay, that everybody kind of takes a piece. So if I got a pizza right now, a big pizza, and we're all sitting together in one room, and we all just kind of jump in and everybody grabs a slice, okay? So the Prophet ﷺ is saying, how are you Muslims going to be when the disbelievers, they're going to treat you like a piece of pizza or like a pie, okay? Everybody's going to come and want to get his slice. So the companions, they couldn't understand that because they're fighters, okay? And so they said, are we going to be like so small in number that we can't fight them off? He said, no. You're going to be so much. You're going to be so many, but you'll be like the foam on the sea. You'll be so weak. Okay, just like the foam on you see that kind of white foam on the sea, you just blow up on it, you just blow it with your mouth and it blows away. We don't have any power. So we have over 1 billion Muslims, 1.5 billion Muslims now, whatever the numbers are. But look at what's happening to us. Look at people like supposed to be part of our body, which is Palestine, part of our body. Those Muslims in Gaza are being murdered, they're being butchered, and there's not a single nation that stands up to do anything about it. So what good are we in a situation like that? And so this is what happened. So had the Muslims been, whenever the Muslims were together, and for those of you who are kind of curious, what is the purpose of Israel being where it is? It's to prevent that. It's to prevent the Muslims working together again, because they're stuck right in the middle, okay, and they continue to play everybody off of everybody. And so they tell the Lebanese, don't you hate the Syrians? They tell the Syrians, don't you hate the Lebanese? And they tell the Egyptians, don't you hate the Syrians? And the Saudis, don't you hate everybody? And it just goes around like that. And so everybody is just very hateful of people who are over an imaginary line, which is the border. It's an imaginary line that somebody made up. Okay. Do you think the people on one side are different than the people on the other side? No, they're not. They're not different at all. But we got tricked into believing that, and as a result, we can't defend human rights anymore. We can't defend good things anymore. We can't fight for truth. We can't fight for justice. We can't fight so people can have liberty. We can't do any of these things because we don't work together. And this is what Allah had said as in a predictive manner and telling us the solution. If you want your life to be better, then that's you're going to have to work together. Look at Muslim communities in the United States that in one city you might have 7 or 8 masajid and they can't work together. They say, oh, that's the masjid for Pakistani people, and that's the masjid for Arabs, and that's the masjid for Black Americans, and that's the masjid for whatever, and so nobody wants to work with it because that you're different than me. We're not different, but that's one of the things we have to work on as Muslims. So now Allah Azza wa Jalla, He gives us specific information about specific trials, okay, to be aware of. So He mentions in Surah Al-Taghabun, إِنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةٌ وَاللَّهُ عِنْدَهُ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. Your wealth, okay, your property, your wealth, your money, whatever, and your children are a trial. They are a fitnah. Okay, so they are things that can take you away from the religion, right? So how many times have you heard someone say, I'm doing this for my children? They work so hard, and they're willing to take haram jobs and haram income, for the sake of their quote unquote their children, so they can buy a bigger house and send them to better schools. So when they buy the bigger house, then the child becomes rotten because now he feels like he's a king in his own wing of the house, and he's not part of the family anymore. And they go to these pretentious schools where they learn to be pretentious, and so it's not even good for them. Subhanallah, there is a lot to be said for that. Many times we want to do things for our children. Many times I've asked Muslim parents, and I said, I notice your son is not fasting, for in Ramadan, and he's an adult. I mean, he's already past the age of puberty. He's 16 or something like that, 15, 16 years old. They say, oh, no, but he has exams. I don't want him to, it's very important for him to do well in his exams. And so, if he's fasting, he's going to be too tired and he's not going to be thinking right. And so this is not an excuse. Okay, or parents who have the same exact excuse for not waking their kids up to pray Fajr. They say, "Well, he has school, and I don't want to wake him up because if he wakes up, then he's going to be tired, and he has to do well in school. He has to get good marks, and blah 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 blah." So you see all of these different things that happen because the children are present. So we have to remember that children are lovely, but we shouldn't allow them to become a cause for taking us away from Allah. We should use them to bring us closer to Allah. Same thing with wealth. Your wealth can bring you closer to Allah, or it can be very much a cause for you going away from Allah. So at the end of the day, you have to remember that Allah has with Him the ultimate reward. Don't focus on this life. So now that we know that property and wealth and children are a trial, what do I do about it? So Allah Azza wa Jalla, He answers that very question in the next ayah in the same surah, because that's the concept here. We want to read it in context. And so, okay, you just told me that wealth and children are a fitna. What do I do to protect myself? So Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ وَاسْمَعُوا وَأَطِيعُوا وَأَنْفِقُوا خَيْرًا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. So 3 things. Number 1, fear Allah to the best of your ability, hear and obey. And number 3, spend in charity, spend in the way of Allah. That will be best for you. These 3 things will protect you from fitnah. These 3 behaviors will guard you, will be an added armor and protection for you from fitnah, from trial. And whosoever is saved from the selfishness of their own souls, it is they who are truly successful. So let us look in detail at these 3 actions. So the first of them, fear Allah as much as you can. So we have the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said, إِذَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِأَمْرٍ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ وَمَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْهُ فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ. When I command you to do something, do as much of it as you can. What does that mean? Do as much of it as you can.
That means to do it to the best of your ability.
Okay.
Depending on
There's more to it.
Depending on your age, your abilities to go through life normally, because some people are stressed out for any little thing. So whatever you can do the best you can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reasonable. But the one thing I want you to understand about this is that when it comes to the commands of Allah, when Allah commands you to do something, you have to do it. There's no such thing as, well, I can't do that. Okay. Or it's, so you do it as best as you can, as much of it as you can. So, for example, a person becomes old. So somebody just mentioned that as we get older. Okay. A person becomes old. And as you will all learn, as I'm learning right now, you will miss your knees when they're gone, right? And so when we no longer are able to bend down because our knees don't work, and so it's if you're going to go down and make sujood, you're going to go down to the ground to pray. You're not going to get up, right? So you start to understand what that old commercial with the "I've fallen and I can't get up," what it actually means is that you can't. You just don't have. You don't have the flexibility or the strength to get back up. So what does a person like that do? Stop praying?
No, they just sit and pray.
That's right. Allah
What's that?
said you can pray sitting, standing, lying.
Very good, very good. So you fear Allah as best as you can in that situation. So you're going to pray, but you can't fulfill the obligation of going through the different positions, but you can do it. You can't fulfill the sujood on the ground, but you can do it in a manner in which the Prophet ﷺ taught us to do it. But it doesn't take you away from the prayer. Even a person who is paralyzed, they can still pray with their eyes. So the prayer doesn't become, you don't become exempted from the prayer for any reason. The prayer has to be done. So that's what it means. Okay, do as much of it as you can. So you sometimes, because of our circumstances, we can't do a certain thing fully. Okay, because of certain circumstances, and so it doesn't mean to stop the good deed altogether. It means do the very best that you can, even if you can only achieve 70% of it, 80% of it, 50% of it. Do that. Okay, don't leave the good. But we see the opposite when he said, "But when I forbid you, then avoid it." So there is no excuse for the forbiddance. Okay, when you are forbidden for doing something, there is no excuse for it. So the Allah Azza wa Jal, He forbade us from committing zina, so fornication and adultery. There's never a reason for that. You can't say, "Well, I had to. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have anything in front. I was forced to commit adultery." No, nobody is forced to commit adultery. Okay, even with the scholars, they were asked, what would happen if somebody was captured by an army and they were put in the front lines to kill their brothers? Should they, but the army said, if you don't shoot at your brother, then we will kill you. What should the person do in a situation like that? Should he shoot at his brothers and say, well, I don't have a choice, they're going to kill me if I don't do it?
No, he shouldn't, because there's guidance that we should not take the life of our brothers and sisters. So
exactly.
That's
but you're gonna be killed. They said, if you don't do this, we're gonna kill you.
Then you become a shaheed.
There you go. You got it. So that's what it is. Is that, you know what? My life is not more important than that of my brother. Okay, my life is not more important than that of my brother. So if Allah put me in that situation, then that's it. Okay, but I will not harm somebody else in order to take harm away from myself, because I am not more important than those other people. And that's the idea. So you see here that there is a difference, okay? When it comes to the commands and the forbiddances, okay? The commands you may not be able to fulfill for one reason or another. Everything there, all the pillars or all the requirements of that good deed, so you do as best as you can. But when it comes to the forbidden, you don't do the forbidden. There is not an excuse for doing the forbidden, okay? Does that make sense? Anybody have any question on that? All right, second one, hear and obey. So hear who? Hear Allah and His Messenger and obey them. So do not ignore what you were ordered to do, and do not commit what you were forbidden from doing. This is the concept. And it also applies to the leadership, okay? Leadership can go all the way down. So it is a sunnah. If you are traveling, okay, so if three brothers are traveling, okay, then one of them should be the leader. The Prophet ﷺ said, if three of you are together, then select the leader. Somebody has to make the decisions. Okay, that means you have to hear and listen to that person. You can't say, "Well, I have a different opinion from you. I'm not listening to you." he's your leader. You have to listen, unless he orders you to do something which is wrong. If he orders you to do something wrong, then there's no, as the saying goes, there is no obedience to the created in the disobedience of the Creator. There is no disobedience. I'm sorry, there is no obedience to the created in the disobedience to the Creator. So I cannot obey another human being in the disobedience of Allah, no matter who that person is, be it my parent, be it my leader, be it whatever, okay? If they command me to disobey Allah, then that's where my hearing and obeying stops, okay? I cannot, my allegiance to them stops at that point in time. And then thirdly, give charity for the sake of Allah. When you give charity, it has a very protective effect on the heart. So Allah He says, and whosoever is saved from his own greed, such are they who will be successful. So when we are saved from being stingy, then we will have earned success and a good achievement. And the Prophet ﷺ, he says, إياكم والظلم فإن الظلم ظلمات يوم القيامة واتقوا الشح فإن الشح أهلك من كان قبلكم حملهم على أن سفكوا دماءهم واستحلوا محارمهم. So the Prophet ﷺ gave us this beautiful advice. Be on your guard against committing oppression, for oppression is layers of darkness on the day of judgment. What does that mean? Oppression is layers of darkness on the day of judgment. Any thoughts on what that means?
I would assume. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
Okay, it's my understanding is that there are degrees of darkness, like there are degrees of light, and
Yes.
only Allah knows those degrees.
Okay, so why do I care about? I mean, how is this darkness going to impact me on the day of judgment?
Because on the day of judgment, Allah will judge amongst everyone, and Allah will judge the unjust people, like the unjust rulers, and just like how Allah says, there's also people who are going to be under His shade. But on that day, there'll be people that will not like be for everything that we have done, the sins that we have done. Like if you were an unjust ruler, on that day, some people will have like the different sins that we committed. It will be like, shown that, on that day. So oppression is one of them, being an unjust person. So yeah.
Okay, so sin in of itself, there's an issue with it. So, but here's the idea that we have to understand. And so when we finish this lesson, inshallah, if you guys have some time tonight, try to read Surah number 57, Surah Al-Hadid. Okay. When you read Surah Al-Hadid, it will give you an impression of what I'm about to tell you. Is that on the day of judgment is a dark day. It is not, we're not hanging around and, it's, lights are on and everybody's, just kind of chilling. It's a dark day. So if you imagine what happens is that when people are thrown out of their graves, okay, they will be running around, okay, trying to figure out what is going on. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. So who are the people who are going to be really cool and relaxed on that day? The believer. Why? Because the believer is not going to be in darkness, because the marks of your wudu, okay, just like those Clydesdale horses, those Clydesdales that they have like white like white on their legs, okay. So the horse might be black or brown or whatnot, but they have white. They have almost like they're wearing socks, okay, like long socks on all of their legs. So these areas of wudu for the believer will be like light. Light will be coming out of them, okay? So light will be coming out of their arms and out of their face and out of behind their ears and in their feet. All of this will be light. So as you're walking around, you are glowing and you can see everything around you, so you don't fall into anything. You're not going to fall into any holes. You're not going to even be scared, because you can see what's happening around you. Of course, to say that you'll not be scared is not true. I mean, everyone will be scared on the day of judgment, because it is the day of judgment, but the fear will be much, much more lessened. Now, what will happen is that the disbelievers will be blind. And in fact, they will say to Allah, why did you raise me up blind when I was seeing when I was alive? Okay, so Allah will say to them, because you ignored my signs, you were blind to them in your life, so you were blind today. Okay, so the concept then is that they're wandering around, and of course you can imagine all the sounds, and you don't know where you are, and you don't have any protection or any companion with you, and so you want to be able to see will give you some degree of comfort, and so they will come to the believers and will say, "Give us from your light. Let me have some of your light so I can see." And when they ask that question, a wall will be placed between them. Okay, and they will say, go away, because Allah gave us this light because of the good deeds that we did. So on the day of judgment, there will be layers of this darkness for the oppressors. Okay, layers of this darkness, and so it will be even more scary for them, all right, and more blinding for them on the day of judgment. Does that help you guys understand better? Did I explain that okay?
Yes, that was great.
Okay. So that's the principle. So read Surah 57, and it has it discusses these elements quite extensively in the surah, and it will help you to understand why we want to have light, and what's the value of light on the day of judgment, and what's the harm and the damage that comes, or the fear that comes with darkness on that day. So that's number one, talking about oppression. Secondly, he says, be on your guard against being stingy, for being stingy is what destroyed those who came before you. It made them shed blood and make lawful what was unlawful for them. So when we become greedy and stingy, okay, we start to that leads to very bad behavior, okay, because greed has no limit. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, nothing will fill the appetite of the son of Adam, the human being who cannot suppress the appetite for wealth. Okay, and so the only thing that will suppress this appetite is death. And so so he said, if the human being was given a valley of gold, okay, how much money that would be? He wouldn't be happy until he had two valleys of gold. And if he had two, then he wouldn't be happy until he had three. And this is the situation. It doesn't matter how much money a person has, they always want more. And so this is what happens. And so we want to become in the habit of being generous even when we are poor. Okay. So even if we don't have a lot, we should still have that generous spirit to carry us through, because this is something that will protect you from fitnah. It will protect you from wanting that which other people have, and for justifying bad behavior to get what other people have, and so forth. Okay. So those are three points there that will help us. Now we look to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and for the sake of time, I will read this hadith to you. بينما نحن حول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذ ذكر الفتنة فقال إذا رأيتم الناس قد مرجت عهودهم وخفت أمانتهم وكانوا هكذا وشبك بين أصابعيه قال فقمت إليه فقلت كيف أفعل عند ذلك جعلني الله فداك يا رسول الله قال ألزم بيتك وأملك عليك لسانك وخذ بما تعرف ودع ما تنكر وعليك بأمر خاصة نفسك ودع عنك أمر العامة. So here the Prophet ﷺ gives us 6 points. Okay, so the hadith here is being mentioned is that Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, he's saying we were all sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, and he started mentioning the period of trials, of fitnah. And so he described it by saying, when you see that people, their covenants are impaired, nobody keeps their promise anymore. Okay, that's what it means. Nobody is honest. Nobody keeps a promise. Nobody fulfills the trusts. Okay, you trust somebody with something, and better that you didn't. And how often that happens today. You give somebody something as a loan, or let them borrow it, and you never get it again. Okay, and if you were to go ask them for it, they tell you, I don't know what I did with it, or they give you some excuse as if it's, it's meaningless to them. They don't honor the trust that you trusted them with something. And he said they become thus, and he intertwined his fingers. So the principle here, to understand this, what he's saying is that the good and the bad, they mix together and you can't tell the difference. Remember that the Prophet ﷺ always wanted us to stand out from the crowd. I know that we don't like to stand, nobody likes to stand out from the crowd, but that's what he wanted us to do, because you are supposed to be different. You are supposed to stand out. People are supposed to notice that you're different. Wherever you work, wherever you study, wherever you live, okay? People should notice my neighbor is very different than any other neighbor I've ever had in my life. They are so kind, and they're so generous, and they're so polite, and they're sensitive and considerate to, being a good neighbor. All of these different things. So you have to stand out. And a lot of times we aren't standing out. And as a result, people say, well, you're just the same as everybody else. So people say, well, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, they're all the same. They're all it's just a different way. They're all the spokes on the wheel. They all lead to the center. It's just you worship Allah and I worship Yahweh, and this one worships Buddha, and this one, we're all the same. This is the idea, because we act the same. We look the same, we act the same, we talk the same, we do everything the same. You have to stand out. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Tuba lil-ghuraba. Okay? He said, Islam will begin as Bada al-Islam ghariban sayudu ghariban. That Islam began as something strange and it will end being something strange. So good tidings to those who are considered strange. So yes, people are going to consider you strange if you follow the Sunnah. When I went to work in a Muslim country, in the hospital, after working there for about 7 or 8 days, maybe 2 weeks, one of the other doctors who's Muslim, and he came to me and he said, listen, Dr. Ali, this is not going to work. I said, what's not going to work? He said, you are being too nice to people, and that just doesn't work here. He said, in a country like this, okay, people will think that you're being nice because you're an idiot, or because you're trying to cover up a mistake that you made. Nobody here is going to believe that you're being nice for the sake of Allah, or you're being nice for because you have good manners. Nobody believes that. So I told him, I said, you know what? If nobody believes that, that's not my problem. That's their problem. I'm not going to change who I am. But that's the idea, is that we have to stand out. Okay, we should be standing out as being different, as behaving differently from other people. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying, on that time, in that era, the Muslim and the non-Muslim, they're going to be the same, essentially. You won't be able to distinguish between the good and the bad. Okay? Everybody is doing the same thing. And so, hence, the very, very important, emphasis here on keeping your promises, being honest, and being trustworthy. These are very, very important traits in Islam, and they're not light. So when he talked about this time of trials, the narrator of the hadith, Abdullah ibn Amr, he came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, what should I do then? They got worried. When they would hear the Prophet ﷺ say these things, remember, it's like right now, if I told you, hey, if you can come to my house tonight, I've got like a suitcase that has like $1 million in it. I got like a few of them at home. So like, yeah, just come on over and you can have one. Like I got so many of them. You can just take one. And so you're like, oh, okay, really? So you're like, okay, I'm coming. You're like, okay, whatever it takes, I'm gonna get to your house tonight. Okay. So then imagine then that you're on the road and you see like a detour and the police officer is standing there and you're like, what's going on? I need to get to this location. How do I get there? Yeah, I this is very critical to me. Okay. And so he's going to tell you, well, you got to be careful, this, that, and the other. So this is the situation. These people want to get to Jannah. They want to get to the pleasure of Allah on the Day of Judgment. So when the Prophet ﷺ says there's going to be times when there's going to be like all this commotion, all this confusion, they're like, what do I do then? Because I don't want to lose the prize. I don't want to lose Jannah, right? And so that's what their concern was. And so you even see how he said it. He said, may I be ransomed for you, O Messenger of Allah. Okay? What do I do in that situation? So he told him, stay in your house, control your tongue, accept what you know, and abandon what you disapprove of. Attend to your own affairs and leave alone the affairs of the public. Okay, so this hadith is hadith sahih in the Musnad of Imam Abdullah ibn Mubarak. It is authenticated by Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah. So what is the guidance from this hadith? Number one, stay in your house. There's a great deal of benefit to this that a lot of people don't realize. We are conditioned by, we're conditioned from, all the different things that happen, to be outside, we're always being encouraged to be outside, to leave and to eat out and to go out and to, generally be outside all the time. Okay. And yet we don't realize that when you stay at home, you minimize sin to such an enormous extent. When you're out in the street, how many haram things do you look at? Even if you're not trying to look at them, even if you're trying to avoid them, how much are you going to see that is haram? Excuse me, just 1 second. I'm just getting a delivery. I just need to pick it up. How are you? Thank you so much. Finally met you. I appreciate it. So the idea then is that when I'm at home, I'm minimizing the amount of fitnah that I'm exposed to. And that's very, very important. And so I'm not, when you're outside, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, the most hated places on earth are what? What place does Allah hate more than anything else? Who can tell me? If I didn't lose you guys.
My mic wasn't on. I would say the marketplaces, going to the markets.
Okay, so let's talk in modern language though. Okay, so
Okay.
what does that mean? When you say marketplace, talk to me like
going to the place where we go to shop to buy food or clothing and all of that, because that's where evil can actually exist for us.
Also, like what she said, based on like the malls and stuff, because we get carried away and we forget about prayer and stuff like that.
Exactly. So the mall, that's the thing that you got to be considering here is the mall. And so you consider, so when you go to the mall, why is the mall so bad? Other than, start seeing things that we really shouldn't be looking at.
There's all kinds of things in the mall.
Tell me.
Yeah, you can like lose time, like you be shopping and not worried about, and then you look like, oh my God, I just missed Asr prayer. So you get carried away and yeah.
The dunya carries you away. And then you start seeing, I need to have this and I should have this. Oh, I didn't know they came out with this. Oh, I have the old model of this. I need to get this. And so all of a sudden, like your life becomes focused on this world. Okay. So it's one of the things that's absolutely hateful, the mall. And so you would have thought, I remember when I was first asked this question, I would have thought bars were the most hated place, to Allah Azza wa Jalla or something like that because of all the haram that goes there. This goes to show you just how unexpectedly evil the mall is, because it leads to so many haram things. And it leads to being distant from Allah Azza wa Jalla. So being in your house has a great deal of value, and that's something that we should focus on as men and women. So it's not just a women's issue, it is a men's issue as well. Brothers, they should find comfort in their own home. They should be in their homes. They should not be used to going outside all the time. Secondly, control your tongue. Control your tongue from saying evil, from lying, from carrying gossip, from using obscene words. This is something that it's become very common today. You know what I'm saying? Even you find some religious people, some religious speakers, that you find them using words that are not becoming of somebody. In television, people didn't say bad things. There was such a limit, on there was such a limit on bad language, and now it's just common everywhere. People are indecent, even on broadcast television. People are saying the F word. Everybody's saying it. Subhanallah. How did we get to this point? Why did we get to this point? This is something that 20, 30 years ago, that you were a really you were just a really detestable type of human being to use this kind of language. So how come it got into our mouth? How? Because we got used to hearing it. We got used to hearing it all the time. We hear it at work. We hear it at school. We hear it on the TV. We hear it in the movies. We hear it everywhere you go. People are using this foul language. This, again, you should be distinguished as being a person who never uses that language. Okay, who never even approaches that type of language. So accept what you know. Follow the truth that you recognize. You are going to hear things that you don't know. There are going to be people that are going to come on YouTube and on Instagram and on Facebook, and they're going to say things about Islam, say things as if they're teaching you Islam, trying to teach you Islam, but you will not be able to validate what they're saying. Don't follow these people. Remember that when there's some doubt, ask the people of knowledge, ask the people that you trust. Right? You guys can still hear me, right?
Yes, we can still hear it. And I know when that started, the years that it started, Dr. Ali, and actually the whole world began to accept it.
Yes.
And I would say this is the language of the hellfire, believe me.
Yes,
this is the language of the hellfire.
It is. It's not just the language. Even look at like tattoos and things like that, and how ubiquitous this has become, common everywhere. And so I remember, like, growing up, that the people that used that kind of language and that they had tattoos were people that were, you say, these are people who are, go to jail, and people who belong in jail, and people who, people on the lowest elements of society. These are the real scum of the earth. And now it's became like so common that everybody's doing it, even now, to the sad reality that even Muslim people are doing it in Muslim countries. I was recently in Turkey in June, and how many Turkish people that I saw tattooing and things like that. I said, why? Why are you doing it? Just because these people from the West are doing it, you should abuse your body this way? So that's what I mean to tell you, is that you are going to be exposed to new things that you don't recognize. So accept that which you know. It's better for you to stick to those things and avoid these doubtful matters. And this is the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, leave that which makes you doubt for that which does not make you doubt. This is the most easiest advice to follow. Leave that which makes you doubt for that which does not make you doubt. Okay? Number 4, abandon what you disapprove of. So keep away from these things that we're talking about. Do not associate with people who speak with this kind of, trash language. Don't associate with people who don't remind you of Allah. I always remind people, there's actually a very famous motivational speaker in business who he used to say that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So he was telling this to business people to tell them, hey, you need to associate with very successful people, because if all of your friends are successful, that means eventually you're going to become successful too. But let's not look at it from a financial standpoint. Let's look at it from a hereafter standpoint. I want to associate myself with people who are doing the behavior that will cause them to succeed on the Day of Judgment, so that inshallah they will pull me in that direction. I do not want to be around people that will pull me down. And that's important. So you have to be careful about regarding keeping away from these types of elements, keeping away from things that will lead you into the haram. Number 5, attend to your own affairs. We're getting into this era where, you have to pay attention to what's happening at home. You have to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you will get carried away. You will be carried away by the stream. Okay. So that's where you have to kind of be a little bit careful and say, okay, I think it's time to focus inward rather than outward. And that's a very difficult decision to make sometimes, but it's really, really important to make sure that we solidify ourselves and our families first. And lastly, leave alone the affairs of the public. Do not follow the crowd when they're immersed in haram. This happens, and so we look at ISIS, the thing that this ISIS situation that happened 5-6 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever it was. That it kind of caught like wildfire. It became viral in certain Muslim circles, especially in the West. And it was kind of a trendy thing to do to go join these people. Okay. So you don't follow the crowd. Okay. When they're doing something that is questionable. Okay. It's better that you say, okay, I don't recognize this. Okay. So I'd rather be late to the party. Okay. Than go to the wrong place. And that's the idea here. I'd rather be late. When we look at the Mahdi, okay, so some of you, if I'm talking about something that you're not familiar with, please make me aware. But we expect that there will be a leader, a Khalifa, like a leader of the Muslims that will come towards the end of time. There are authentic hadith to this issue. So when should I go follow the Mahdi? This has been the question. Okay, do you guys have an answer to that?
Well, the Mahdi himself, when that time comes, those that are believers will know because they will understand the hadith and an explanation of how to identify that individual, his lineage, his name, the events that are happening based on the signs of the time in which we're living, the minor and the major signs. So we have an understanding that we will know, and that will be only the believers.
Yes, for certain. Now, the question is, as a believer, when do I go? So if a man named Muhammad ibn Abdullah, who is from Quraysh, he appears in Mecca and people start giving him allegiance, should I go and also give my allegiance at that time, or should I wait? That's the question. That's the important question. What do you guys think? And this is a question that has been discussed in among some of the great scholars that they attended to this issue.
I would say you should wait. I mean, it happened before in I think the 70s. Right,
very good.
Right.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Daryl. I'm very proud of you. MashaAllah, MashaAllah, very proud of you. That's exactly right. There was a man named Muhammad ibn Abdullah who appeared in Mecca, and people started giving him the Pledge of Allegiance. This was in the 70s. It happened during the pilgrimage ceremony at that time. And these people, they armed themselves and they started shooting in the haram, where this is a sacred and inviolable place that you cannot harm even insects, much less harm other human beings. And these people were shooting people who were there for the Hajj, and all of this because they thought they were following the Mahdi. And so for this is the case, is that there will be these spurts and these whispers here and there. So how do I know then? When do I know? There is one sign. This is what the scholars have said. They said the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that after this man is given the Pledge of Allegiance in Mecca, okay, he's from the people of Medina and he receives the Pledge of Allegiance in Mecca, that an army will be sent against him from the north, from what is currently, Syria, Jordan, this region. They will send an army against him, and that army will be swallowed in the desert, with the exception of a small number of people that will carry the news of what happened to the army, that the army was swallowed in the desert. He said, if you hear about a man named Muhammad ibn Abdullah who has received allegiance in Mecca, and an army was sent against him, and an army was swallowed in the desert, then you can go at that time. So that's that's a very very unusual event that will not be happen more than once. And so this type of thing we want to wait. So that's the idea, is that the believer is going to take it slow, okay, when there is darkness in front of them, when they don't know. Remember what we talked about, that this fitna is confusion. And it's I like to tell people, it's kind of like when you're in the fog. If you're driving or even walking in fog, okay, do you drive faster or slower?
You drive slower.
Exactly. You drive slower. You might even stop if the fog is extremely thick. You might even stop, okay? Because you say, I cannot see in front of me. I am very likely to hit something or go off the road or God knows what, because I can't see. You are in fitna. You can't see, and so because I can't see, Allah is not going to punish you or going to hold you accountable because you were slow. Okay, and that's why we look at the hadith that are found in the book of Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah. So Sahih al-Bukhari, the book of Fitan, he said, the one who lies down is better than the one who sits, and the one who sits is better than the one who stands, and the one who stands is better than the one who walks, and the one who walks is better than the one who runs. What's the idea here? Slow down. Okay, take it as slow as possible, because these are black times that you can't see in front of you. There is darkness in front of you. So don't rush headfirst into something to regret it later. That is the nature of fitna when it comes from the political realm. Okay, so don't rush into anything. Take it slow. Rather, it's better for you to be the last person to show up and to join, rather than to rush into something and end up going into the hellfire for doing something critically wrong. Right? Does that make sense? Any questions on that? All right. So in that case, then, so this is just a kind of a summary that's just what I just explained to you already. And so general guidance from the Quran and Sunnah regarding fitna: do your best to avoid toxic, evil environments. Okay, so those of you who have children, you might consider homeschooling, okay, because I homeschooled all of my children for that very reason, because the school environments today, almost worldwide, have become toxic and evil environments in every sense of the word. And so you have to do your best to try to keep your children away from that. You yourself have to avoid these type of environments. Okay, so do your very very best to avoid these environments. Again, the emphasis on staying at home more than being out. Number two, remember the protection of the prayer. We talked about this early. Remember that the prayer has a special effect, and it is your armor. And so Allah Azza wa Jalla, He said in Surah Al-Ankabut again, أُتْلُ مَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَصْنَعُونَ. Recite what has been revealed to you of the book. So here the emphasis: read the Quran. Okay, the first emphasis: read the Quran, and secondly, establish prayer, because prayer deters you, keeps you away from immorality and evil. And the remembrance of Allah is an even greater deterrent. So the prayer is a formalized remembrance of Allah, but you should remember Allah as frequently as possible, because that is the best deterrent from immorality and evil. So here we have it: the frequently turning to the Quran, remembering Allah, and secondly, making sure we complete our prayers. This is one of the best protections that we have from disaster. And as the Prophet ﷺ said in Hadith of Sahih Muslim, hasten to do good deeds before there emerges fitna, like a piece of black night, when a man will be a believer in the morning and a disbeliever in the evening, or he will be a believer in the evening and a disbeliever in the morning, and he will sell his religion for worldly gain. And we are definitely in this era. We are in a situation where people are changing. A person wakes up as a believer and goes to sleep as a disbeliever, and so forth. This is what the Prophet is telling you: pieces of black nights. When it's so dark outside, you do the same thing. It's just like the fog. You're not going to drive fast. You're not going to walk fast or anything like that, because you can't see. So slow down. Slow down in terms of jumping into any type of movement or any type of deal. Best thing for you is stay at home, hasten to do good deeds. Do as many good deeds as we possibly can. This is ultimately the protection for you, and Allah knows best. Number 3, remember the importance of gratitude. So being grateful for guidance is something that will give it more value in your heart. If you remember that Allah has saved you amongst all the other people around you, you might be living in an apartment complex right now, you're the only Muslim. Allah chose you for guidance. Why did He choose you? And how do you feel about that? Are you waking up every single day saying, Alhamdulillah, that I'm a Muslim? Every time you pray, you say, Oh Allah, I've done nothing to deserve the honor of standing in front of you and worshiping you, but I'm grateful for it. Every time that Allah allows you to do a good deed, you have this idea that, oh Allah, I have done nothing worthy of this blessing that you're giving me, but I am certainly grateful for it. Number 4, fearing Allah, especially in private. Fearing Allah in private when nobody's looking at you has an enormous impact on protecting the soul and the person from straying. And lastly, as we already mentioned before, seeking knowledge of the religion, for this dispels doubts. The more you know, the more you're capable of avoiding the disease. My email if you have any questions that aren't answered today. With that, we finish. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. My apologies again for being late. I had an emergency patient that came in, but I
Wonderful. Any questions on YouTube?
No, I don't have any questions, but this was a great session. Thank you, Dr. Ali.
You're very welcome. Alhamdulillah.
Yes, the people are all typing, mashallah, may Allah bless you. This was very good, very informative. May Allah, I'm just getting a lot of that from the YouTube, Facebook, the brothers and sisters in the Emirates and their salams. And Egypt sends their salams, mashallah, may Allah bless you. And this website, mashallah, a lot of that. Yeah, alhamdulillah.
All right, I guess. Well, in that case, I look forward, inshallah, we're definitely going to try to do this more often, as I really enjoy my interactions with you all. I love you all for the sake of Allah, and inshallah, until next time, if you have anything, you're welcome always to reach out to me. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, that was wonderful, guys.